Hi, Jennifer. This is Derek. I thought instead of giving you an update on our meeting from Wednesday in the email, I would just make you a short video with the notes that we took and some of the things we're preparing to show Roxanne as ideas for the open house. So if you want to take this video and summarize it to Roxanne or show this video to Roxanne directly, either way is fine. So the first thing we discussed on Wednesday was the time frame for the open house. We weren't sure if it was from 6 to 8. We just needed confirmation on that. The first part of open house would be much like we did the deployment for the computers. We would pool all the parents into the library for sort of a conference where we would give them all kinds of information, primarily just letting them know what to expect at the open house. I'll show you in a second a couple of documents that I created, things we looked at the last meeting to help guide parents through the open house. Something very basic, we're thinking 5 to 10 minutes. We would have a couple people who speak Spanish, a couple people who speak English to answer questions, and then we would kind of let parents go in groups, in waves, much like we did the deployment. You'll see here there are a list of things that we're going to include in that document, and I'll show you that in a second. I was considering a second station for Infinite Campus, but we decided that that wasn't a good idea. That would probably take up too much of our parents' time instead of dedicating that time to talk to teachers. But we did have a question for Roxanne. Do parents have access to Infinite Campus support during school hours? Shar knows that the parents can use the computer lab, can use the library, but Infinite Campus still seems to be a factor, still seems to be something that parents need support with. So we had a question on when parents can get access to that. Again, the parents will be released to the rest of the school. One of the ideas we had, because the flow of parents from room to room doesn't allow for every parent to hear or to see things maybe as the teachers planned for it, we came up with the idea of every 10 to 15 minutes having a bell go off that would indicate that teachers would begin maybe a 2 or 3 minute presentation of who they are, what they teach, what programs they'll be using, and that would just be a time for parents to kind of maybe sit down, take out the form we've given them, and jot down some things that are pertinent to their students' classes. And that would make parents feel more engaged in the process instead of walking into a room, seeing a bunch of people, and then being afraid to talk or not wanting to wait in the long line of parents to talk to the teacher. And then maybe that presentation could be followed by a short Q&A. It would last 2-3 minutes, and then parents would then be able to freely walk around, leave, whatever. And if we do it every 10 to 15 minutes, a parent shows up at 7, they could just jump in, and every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, kind of just go room to room, and it'd work out fine. Once students arrive with their parents to the classroom, they explain to their parents the content of the course to their best ability. So the idea here is Roxanne has mentioned the flipped model for our open house, and we were kind of interested in what kind of shape that would take. If that would mean students coming with their netbooks and doing something with their parents and showing their parents what they're actually doing in class. So some ideas there. One of the ideas we had was instead of parents showing up and signing the forms, who's their student, what is their name, would they like a parent-teacher conference or not? Or what if they did a Google form where they could put all that information in? We had a couple of questions with that. Does that mean that parents would fill out a form in each classroom? Would we have enough computers? Teachers would probably, in that case, have to take all their loaners out. That way there would be enough computers available for parents to have access to those in a timely fashion. So that's kind of the structure that we thought of. I'll come back to those loose ends in a second. I want to show you the documents that we came up with for parents. So this would be the first page. In the first page, you have the name of the student, a place to put Infinite Campus, put that username and password, their AD login. username and password, and the Google Classroom username and password. There's also a list for each class. So here would be math, English, science, other classes, who teaches it, so the teacher, and then the programs that would be used in that class. This allows the parent to associate what programs are being used in what class. Over here we have a list, and obviously this is not a complete list, but we would have a list of programs offered in the school, some different teachers are using, and the parent could then copy them over into this program. You draw lines, they could copy them over, what would ever make most sense for them. This would be the back side. The back side would have a bunch of just general information. Basically, this bottom part includes information that we've heard parents want to know more about. So a big one, the bell schedule. When does one period end? When does one start? Lunch schedules. So I kind of broke that down here. We have an announcement for, I just realized it didn't update. I have a SIP service announcement that's on the updated version of this. After school tutoring, SSA, times to drop off and pick up students. We have, the website with social media access on here. And of course, this top part, it gives parents an opportunity to copy down the programs their students are using and their logins and passwords. I try to reduce this in size as much as possible to give the most space for the most amount of programs. Right now there's only 5, but if that doesn't seem to be enough, then we can maybe figure out how to expand that a little bit. But again, there's a lot of information there, so I'm not sure how to make it smaller without being too compact. So that's the two sides. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of get a better idea of what that looks like. So that's the one side, that's the back side here with all that information, and the front side looks like, let's see if I can get to it. Where'd it go? Oh, and here's the other side. And so we would give each parent a copy, and this is what we would explain to them in the library in their very first station. So kind of as a summary of what we need from Roxanne, confirmation on the time, teacher presentation every 10 to 15 minutes. Do we like that idea? When do parents get support for Infinite Campus? Google Forms, would we have one for the whole form for the whole school that the parents would sign in at each classroom? Would they have to do one for each classroom? And then the flipped model, what would that look like in terms of procedures? Would students come in with their notebooks? Would they not? And so forth. So thanks. If you have any questions, let me know. And that's it.